Everyone ready? Hi everyone, my name's Emma Heal. I'm the Managing Director of Lucky Saint. I'm joining you this morning to discuss entrepreneurship, hospitality and female leaders. So in only 5 years, Lucky Saint has become the #1 dedicated alcohol-free beer brand in the UK. Our mission is to inspire people to drink better by making the highest quality alcohol-free beer that they're proud to drink. You can find Lucky Saint across the UK and Ireland in bars, pubs and restaurants and supermarkets. And also you can find us in thousands of pubs on draft where you can buy Lucky Saint on tap. Alcohol-free beer is a rapidly growing category within a wider beer market that's been in decline for many years. When people choose an alcohol-free drink over an alcoholic one, they're making a decision that has a positive impact on their personal health. I'm very proud to be a part of the movement in the UK to give people that choice. On a personal level, I'm the chair of the Family Business and Independent Advisory Board, part of the Hospitality Sector Council, and a member of the Small Business Council. I'm an advocate of women in business and a mother of 2 young daughters. Now, I'm absolutely delighted to introduce the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak.
Good morning. I'm incredibly proud that we have 5.5 million small businesses in our country. And your contribution is enormous in jobs, growth, innovation. But it isn't just a number. It's 5.5 million stories of sacrifice, hard work, and hope that by taking a risk to build your own business, you can build a better future for yourself and your family. Stories like those of Ronnie Savage, who I just met earlier this morning, who runs the engineering firm Jonas Associates. Or Bradbury's Cheese in Buxton, 140 years old this year, and still as committed and knowledgeable as ever. Now, I grew up in a small business. When I wasn't at school, I'd work in my mum's pharmacy, serving customers, doing the bookkeeping, cleaning the shop. Our pharmacy shaped my beliefs about the economy. That pharmacy was ours. We owned it. We had a stake in its success. And if we worked hard, took pride in our work and provided a good service, business would improve. If we didn't, it wouldn't. And that's how it should be. That's the promise of entrepreneurship. Now, I know that that promise has come under strain. COVID, war in Ukraine, inflation, all caused major disruption, drove up the cost of doing business. I know things are still tough, but our plan is starting to work. Inflation, more than halved and falling fast. Growth, higher than anyone expected. Debt, on track to fall. But there is more that we need to do to restore that promise of entrepreneurship. So let me share 3 big steps we're taking to help small businesses. First, we're cutting your taxes. Your money is far better spent by you than by government. So we've increased the VAT threshold to £90,000 for the first time since 2017. We've taken 2 in 5 small businesses out of paying any employer's national insurance at all, thanks to our employment allowance. We've protected over 1 million small businesses from business rates increase, taken 1/3 out of paying any business rates whatsoever, and introduced a relief for retail, hospitality and leisure businesses that mean a small business in England will pay far less in business rates than you would in Wales or in Scotland. And we're cutting national insurance because we want to end the unfairness that you pay tax twice on income from work, but income from other sources is only taxed once. That's why our long-term ambition is to simplify the system and end the double tax on work by abolishing NICs. Now, we've already made good progress. For the self-employed, we've abolished Class 2 NICs and cut your main rate by 1/3, saving a typical self-employed person around £650 a year. And we've cut NICs for 29 million workers by around £900. That's a £20 billion tax cut for the British people. But we're not done yet. We'll make more progress towards abolition in the next Parliament. Now, our second step to help small business is to cut red tape. Since leaving the EU, we've revoked or reformed more than 2,000 EU laws, with 500 more coming this year, delivering more than £1 billion of savings for businesses and customers. But today, we can go further. We're announcing a new simplification package expected to save small businesses around £150 million a year. Now, take the rules that define who can qualify as a small business. It really matters, because if you don't qualify, suddenly you're hit with a load of extra paperwork. But now, we get to decide these definitions, not the EU. So we're changing the rules to ensure that far fewer businesses are hit by these burdens. We're also tackling late payments with strict new rules that mean any company bidding for large government contracts must show that they pay their own invoices within 45 days. And we're also making it easier for you to hire apprentices. Apprenticeships benefit young people and the businesses who hire them. But for SMEs, the system can be expensive and confusing, despite the huge progress. So, to ensure that funding is available whenever there is demand for apprenticeships, we're increasing the apprenticeship budget by £40 million. And for small businesses hiring young apprentices, we will now fund the cost of their training in full. This will cut costs for businesses and training providers and support thousands more young people to start an apprentice. Now, as well as cutting taxes and red tape, our third step is to make it easier to get the finance you need to start, grow or invest in your business. For early stage businesses, we've already made the tax reliefs on investment far more generous. We've deployed hundreds of millions to the Regional Angels programme. For larger companies, we've committed £1.6 billion into growth funds in every region of the country, including £400 million right here in the Midlands, as well as the £1 billion startup loan scheme, which has helped over 100,000 businesses, like Castor, started by two brothers in their parents' kitchen in the Wirral, and now a multi-million-pound sportswear company. This is all about the government directly funding exciting high-growth businesses right across our country, and I genuinely believe it is one of the most generous sets of schemes anywhere in the world. So get on gov.uk and see if you can benefit. But I recognise there has been a gap. Female founders receive just 2% of equity investment, and that figure hasn't budged in a decade. So to change that, we're announcing a new Invest in Women task force, led by Hannah Bernard from Barclays and serial entrepreneur Debbie Wasco. It's going to raise a female-focused investment fund to address that gap directly. We're going to make the UK the best place in the world to be a female founder. So, lower taxes, less admin, better access to finance, that's how we're backing our small businesses. Because in the end, the economy isn't some abstract thing. It's about you. 5.5 million risk takers, growth makers, job creators. And our role is to create the conditions for you to thrive, to make sure that your hard work and aspiration is rewarded, and to restore that promise of entrepreneurship. We're not there yet, but we are absolutely moving in the right direction. So let's stick to the plan and build a better, brighter future together. Thank you.
Hello, Prime Minister.
Hello.
So, it was International Women's Day just passed. And although it was a great celebration, the equity problem still continues to persist in business and in investment. Still today, investors are not taking what they perceive to be as risks on female founders, because they are instead going for the option which represents what they look like and where they're from. How can we incentivise investors to back female founders? And more broadly, what can be done to tackle the barrier to female entrepreneurship?
Yeah, well, great question to start with. And look, I have two young girls, and as a dad, first and foremost, I want to make sure that my girls grow up in an economy and a society where there isn't a limit to their ambitions and aspirations. And if they want to start their own businesses one day, making sure that they have access to the finance they need is really important. So look, we have made progress. In the last year that we have numbers for, we had a record number of female founders, and that has doubled over the last 5 or 6 years. But there's clearly more to do, as I alluded to. We just haven't got enough money going into this, which is why we've announced this new task force, which will raise money for a dedicated fund. And I think that will make a big difference. And it will complement the things we're doing to ensure that big FTSE companies have more women in leadership positions, where, again, there's been very good progress. But maybe I could actually touch on two slightly related areas, which I think actually will make a difference too. When I talk to female business leaders, actually what they talk to me about a lot is childcare, and making sure that there is good access to childcare so they can juggle family and work, which is never easy, but making it easier is something that people have always wanted. And I'm really pleased that actually we're in the middle of one of the biggest expansions of childcare that our country's ever seen, and in just a few weeks' time the next stage of that will kick in. Because we're on the path, and Gillian's here, we're on the path to making sure that everyone in work can have access to 30 hours of free childcare from the time that their little one is 9 months old until they start school. And when that is fully rolled out, I think it will be transformational, particularly benefiting female founders. So that's the first thing, I think, to focus on. And as I said, and Gillian could talk about it later, but in just a few weeks' time, that's about to start happening. And the second thing I'd say is about role models. And, I can't emphasize this enough, particularly female founders in traditionally male industries. And, Julie's here somewhere from Dedrill is a great example of that. And all I'd say is, for all of you who have done that journey, don't underestimate the power you have in just going back to schools, to colleges, and talking about your experience, right? Because what we need our young girls to see is that there isn't a limit to what they can achieve. And actually, forget about all the policies we can put together in Whitehall or in Downing Street. I want my kids to be able to hear from people like you, from Julie and others, and go, okay, well, that's possible. I can do that. And that's why whenever I actually talk to female engineers in particular, as I was doing earlier today at the apprentices, I was like, make sure you go back to your college and your school and tell them what you're working on and what your job is now. And that will inspire a new generation of young women to, dream big and go realise those ambitions. So I think that is an important part of it, which is less about government and more about fantastic entrepreneurs like you, Julie, and others, sharing that and passing it on.
I was in a school doing just that last week.
Excellent. Very happy to hear.
Okay, moving on to hospitality. It's the third largest employer in the UK. It generates 93 billion in revenue. 2/3 of hospitality venues in the UK are independent. I'm the chair of a group of independent hospitality owners who are working hard to build back post the really difficult COVID years, but are now impacted by huge inflation. If we want to attract and retain world-class talent to live in the UK, they want thriving cities to live in, and that looks like streets buzzing with successful hospitality venues, with places to have a great coffee, go for lunch, go to the theatre. How will you give hospitality the shot in the arm it needs?
Yeah. I think most of you probably got to know me during the pandemic when I was Chancellor, and I ended up doing a lot for the hospitality industry, precisely because, as you made the point, Emma, it's so important for our economy. It's such a massive employer, 2 million people plus, and particularly, actually, it employs people from disadvantaged backgrounds, people working on lower wages, women, people from ethnic minorities, people coming off welfare. For all those reasons, actually, I always said, look, as a matter of social justice, it's important to support that industry. But also, you made the point, it's the beating heart of all our communities, right? Whether it's the village pub or your market town high street, those are the things that enrich our communities. We need to make sure that they remain vibrant. And that's why, again, it's important that we support these businesses. And you're right, pandemic has been really tough. Of course it has, and then inflation makes life tougher as well, which is why we did a lot to try and help businesses get through, and largely that was successful. But what we're doing now is business rates, right? The number one thing I hear from businesses in this industry is business rates, and they'd say, hang on, before I've had a single customer through the door, I've already got hefty business rates bill. So the focus of our policy over the last few years has been constantly freezing and cutting business rates, to take out, I think, almost now a third of all small retail hospitality businesses from paying any business rates at all. I mean, these are billions of pounds of tax cuts that we've found the money for. And just to give you a sense of the contrast, and I'll make a slight political point here, we have introduced a 75% discount on business rates for shops, restaurants, cafes, pubs, and that is, again, kicking in a few weeks' time. That hasn't been matched in Scotland or in Wales. right? In Scotland, they've got rid of it altogether. In Wales, they've massively cut the relief. And that makes a huge difference. So for a typical pub, rateable value about 30 grand, in England, their business rates bill is going to be £4,000 this year. It's not going to change. In Scotland, I think, in Wales actually, it will be more than double at 10,000, and I think in Scotland it will be 15,000. Just think about that difference, right? If you're that small business owner, right, that's thousands of pounds of extra taxes you're paying before a single customer has walked through your door, because we've prioritised supporting that sector, supporting these businesses, and in Wales and Scotland they haven't, right? And that's because we believe in backing small businesses and particularly backing those shops, those cafes, those restaurants that are the beating hearts of all our communities.
Okay. Before we go to the audience for questions, I'm sure we can all agree on the benefits of unleashing the full potential of British entrepreneurs and startups. However, we operate at a much faster pace than government. What more can government do to support entrepreneurs?
Yes, you do all operate faster than government. Well, I mean, hopefully, first of all, it's having people in government that understand business. I think, whether that, sitting here, right, I've got ministers here, you've got Kemi, Kevin, Gillian and me, all of us come from a private sector business background, right? Kevin founded his own business, right, very successfully. All of us have been involved in business all our lives. And hopefully the fact that we understand business ourselves mean that we can try and make policy that benefits you and try and move at a pace that will work for all of you. Look, I think the couple other things I'd say is making sure that we create an environment where you can innovate fast is really important, because ultimately that's how we drive growth. So whether it's supporting R&D, the grants from Innovate UK, which we've protected and increased over time, and making sure our programs like Help to Grow are in place to give you the tools that you need, so you don't rely on us, but we can provide you with the support and advice that you need to take your business to the next level, I think is the right approach, because we're not going to make every decision for you. You guys know how to do that. We just need to provide that environment. And I talked a little bit about the overall macro environment. That's our job, right, is to make sure inflation is coming down, interest rates are coming down, more money is going into people's pockets to spend in your businesses, making sure regulation and red tape is being cut, as Kemi's been doing brilliantly over the past year, because that just makes your life a bit easier, making sure we have apprenticeships and apprentices for you to power your business, as Gillian's been doing, and the announcement today is further proof of that, right? That's our job, right? And then your job is to go and do what you do brilliantly, and we'll try and get out of your way.
Thank you. Okay, open to the audience for questions. Julie.
Hi, Julie White. I'm D-Drill. I'm from Managing Director and owner of D-Drill and Soaring, and we're from Coventry. So thank you for coming and supporting our amazing city. From our business, we are 75% of all our employees, of our apprentices, have come from apprenticeships, and it's the only way that we can grow our business, because we cannot get a concrete cutter from college, from university, from school. So your announcements today is fantastic, but we seem to have devalued apprenticeships in the UK, because the only way into industry or any fantastic job is through university. So I feel that we should rally more for apprentices. We should really be backing them. And as you said, a woman running a concrete cutting company, we can do anything. Also, like the construction industry right now, this week, we open doors. And so I've got 5,000 school children and college people and university coming into over 250 sites in construction. So we're showing them there's 2,000 different jobs in construction. So that's what we're trying to do in construction, but we need the young people to come into apprentices. So your fantastic announcement today, I can see it, but how do you think it's really going to work for us SMEs, the ones that are employing, the ones that have got the technology, the ones that are doing the do? Yeah. And remember, £1 spent in construction, £3 goes back to the great economy. 1 in 10 of us is in construction. So how do you think it's going to fit? What you've announced this morning, how do you think it's going to work?
Perfect. Thanks, Julie. Well, and nice to be in your hometown. Any Coventry fans in the audience? Yeah, there you go. Good weekend. So, look, I'll get into the policy stuff in a second. But if you just want to know, in a simple one sentence, how important apprenticeships are to me, then I'll just tell you this. For the first time in our country's history, we have an apprentices education secretary, right? And she's sitting in front of you. So we'll get into all the policy stuff in a second, but for anyone who wants to know, do I care about apprenticeships? Do I believe in apprenticeships? Yeah, for the first ever time, we've got an apprentices education secretary deliberately because I think they're fantastic and we should champion them every day. So that's the short answer to the question. You know, from a kind of, let's get into the detail of it, I think what you said was right a decade ago about the perception of apprenticeships, but because of the work over the governments over many years now, since 2010, I think we have changed that, right? In 2010, there were no quality controls properly for apprenticeships, so they had been devalued, right? But we introduced the Institute of Apprenticeships. We have now 650 standards that we created in conjunction with all of you and your trade associations to make sure that these are quality apprenticeships, and we got rid of the ones that weren't. We put proper training in there, and we created the apprenticeship levy to make sure that they're properly funded. So I think the system now is completely, radically different from what we inherited in 2010, and it is now a world-class system. People always say, oh, Germany, Germany. We have way more jobs in our country that you can do through an apprenticeship than they do in Germany. In fact, twice as many. Right? I mean, it's very counterintuitive, right? You wouldn't expect that, but that's how much of a good job we've done making sure that we've got apprenticeships for everybody over the past few years. Now, making sure that small businesses in particular can access them is important. Why? Because small businesses disproportionately hire young apprentices. And we want to make sure that all the fantastic people that I met this morning have the opportunities they need to have fulfilling careers. And that's why the announcements today are important. So, you told us that the bureaucracy of onboarding the whole apprenticeship was a nightmare. Kemi, Gillian, Kevin and others took it away and we fixed it, and now you can see in the data, way easier and better for you, so hopefully you appreciate that. And then you said, look, it's the contribution that we have to make means that we can hire less. So today we've announced that we're scrapping it, so it will be completely free for you to take on that apprenticeship. You won't have to pay for the training. We'll do all of that. And thirdly, what you've said to us is there are big, large businesses that want to spend their levy with small businesses, but we've got a cap on that at 25%. So we've taken that all the way up to 50% today. I think so those things taken together are going to mean that tens of thousands more apprenticeships will be created, and that's going to be brilliant for young people. But the thing all of us collectively need to do is to change the culture in this country. Now, we're going to do that and do our bit, and Gillian can do that better than most. But all of us need to make sure that young people know that having an apprenticeship is a fantastic route into work and to build their life and their career. That's what we all believe. I don't think everyone has to go to university at all. Right? Apprenticeships now work for pretty much every career, and they're a great route for people, and we need to change the culture of how they're perceived. And one of the things I'm really proud that we did was put apprenticeships on the UCAS system. That might seem like a small thing, but in the classroom, my view is there shouldn't be this artificial divide between all these people going off to university, get to do this UCAS process, and everyone who's not doing that somehow is a second-class citizen. That can't be right. So we've just got to end that kind of distinction, and just putting apprenticeships on the UCAS system is another step to changing the culture. Having people like you and everyone else champion it as a model is how we're going to keep going. But I was meeting them all today. I mean, they are so excited about their future, all the young apprentices here. You talk to them about their career aspirations. It's inspiring. And I believe that our announcements today and the support of Kemi and Gillian and others means that we will have young people doing absolutely what they want through apprenticeships. And that's going to be something that's brilliant for them, brilliant for the country.
Thank you. One more. George?
Good morning, Prime Minister. My name's George Paul. I'm chairman and owner of a company called Bradbury's Cheese, in now our 140th year in business. It was less than 8 years ago that we were persuaded, pushed in fact, by some energetic people from the DBT who changed our approach to being a home bird, so to speak, and we embarked on exporting with their considerable help. And today we do around £10 million a year into 20 countries as a direct result. I won't tell you the commercial benefit that brings, but you can be assured as a Yorkshireman, I need that certainty that that it's a good return, and it has been. What advice and encouragement could you give as Prime Minister for budding entrepreneurs, small companies, both in food trade and allied trade and all the rest of the great British industry, to take that leap to look for success and do it a little earlier than I did? I wish I'd done it 25 years ago, but there wasn't the environment. The environment's got better and better to support exporters, and to do it for themselves, to do it for the company, and do it for the country.
Yeah. Well, George, I think everyone will want to join me in just saying thank you to you and your family for what you've done, actually. It's still really impressive. What bits of advice can I give? I think the first is to, all those small businesses that don't do this currently, is to have confidence in what you do, because as George's family found, and those of you who've exported have found, the world wants to buy British, right? So start from a position of just confidence in what you do, right? We stand for quality, we stand for best in class, we stand for innovation, and around the world, they want to buy British things and British services. So I think just before you even think about it, just start with that confidence is the first thing I'd say. And the second thing is there's lots of help, because it's not an easy thing. It will feel daunting to you if you haven't done it before. But Kemi's team have got everything that you need. I mean, genuinely, I say that and I mean it. If you go to great.gov.uk, I think that's about the right URL, isn't it? Everything that you need is there. So what the team at DBT have is one-on-one specialist help. They can walk you through the process. There's opportunities that we've already sourced from all our embassies around the world, where they're actually we know that they want something and they just need to find a British supplier. And there are fantastic export champions. I think, George, you might even be one of these, who you can talk to, people like George who have gone through this journey, and we have them around the country ready to, again, mentor and help your business through it. And then the last thing is, we have an incredible organisation called UK Export Finance, which provides finance to those businesses internationally that are looking to buy from British companies, right? And they've done an extraordinary job, billions of pounds, and enabled billions of exports as a result. So, look, lots of help out there to help you through the journey. I think you'll find it incredibly rewarding, but it just starts with confidence to know that there is a massive market out there for what you are doing, because we do things better than most countries here, and everyone else is excited to get a piece of it. So, be bold, be brave, follow George's example, and don't wait 140 years. Get cracking this week.
Great. Finally, to wrap up, final question. You said the economy is turning a corner. Running a business is tough, and many of the companies in this room will be apprehensive about the future. What would you say are reasons for us all to be optimistic, Prime Minister?
I'll start with the macro picture, because crikey, it's been tough, right? I mean, of course it's been tough. What a tough few years. COVID, then we started recovering from that, then war in Ukraine, energy bills, inflation. None of that is easy. Not easy for me, not easy for any of you. But we really have turned a corner at the start of this year. Inflation has been more than halved. Mortgage rates, energy bills falling, wages rising, consumer confidence, business confidence increasing. And because of all of that, we've been able to meaningfully start cutting taxes. Cutting taxes for individuals, £900 for someone on average salary, that's significant. Cutting taxes for businesses that are investing, right, which was done in the autumn, which will help drive growth into the future. So look, that's the backdrop, right? After a tough couple of years, we're now pointing in the right direction. And that actually gives me a lot of confidence for the future. But you don't have to take my word for it, right? You can see it in what CEOs around the world are saying and doing. When you look at these surveys that are done by companies like PwC, where do global CEOs want to invest? They want to invest here in the UK, right? And you saw that in the Global Investment Summit that Kemi hosted at the end of last year. We had 3 times the amount of money committed to the UK than we'd had the last time around we did that 2 years ago, right? 3 times, something like 30-40 billion pounds worth. We've got Nissan making a new generation of electric vehicles up in Sunderland. We've got Jaguar Land Rover doing the same further south, Orsted are building the world's biggest offshore wind farm off the east coast, and we've got Microsoft and Google pretty much doubling their footprint of data centres in the UK. So look, they're all voting and with their feet and with their pocketbooks because they know this is a great place to invest. But ultimately, why am I confident? I'm confident because I get to spend time with people like all of you, right? And you just, where's Richard's over there, right? I mean, everyone should just spend 5 minutes with Richard after this if they want to feel optimistic. Richard runs a barber shop that's expanding, not just in the UK, but over to the US. What an incredible success story, right? Or, Tom, who runs Castor, who I referenced in my remarks, is on all of my business councils, right? Literally kitchen table of his parents' home in the Wirral, and now it's a global brand that all of you will see when you're watching your sport at the weekend, right? And we have so many fantastic entrepreneurs like all of you. That's what ultimately gives me confidence for the future. And I think we are now creating the conditions which will allow you to keep growing, keep investing, keep expanding, keep creating jobs and opportunity for young people. And that's exciting. And after a tough couple of years, I really think the plan we put in place is starting to show that it's working. Change is being delivered, and all of you will be able to take that and create a brighter future for everyone, not just your families, but actually for the whole country. And that's what we're going to keep going and keep on delivering.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Perfect. Great.
All right, everyone. First of all, thank you to the Prime Minister